Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 14th regular City Council meeting. And I apologize that we're a little bit late, but we had another meeting. You can watch this council meeting. It's going to be streamed on the city's YouTube channel, also on longmontpublicmedia.org/watch or Comcast channels 8 and 880. Can we have a roll call, please, Dawn?
Mayor Peck.
Here.
Councilmember Christ.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Faring.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy.
Present.
Councilmember Popkin.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder to the public, in accordance with the council's rules of procedure, the rules for providing public comment are as follows. Only Longmont residents and employees of the City of Longmont may speak during first call public invited to be heard. You must provide your name and address on the sign-up sheet before the meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Anyone may speak on second reading or public hearing item, but you're asked to add your name to the speaker list for that specific item before the meeting, and anyone may speak during final call public invited to be heard. Members of the audience shall refrain from disruptive, vulgar, or abusive language, applause, heckling, or other actions that interfere with the orderly function of this council. May I have a motion for the September 23rd, 2025 minutes?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Are there any discussion, comments on the minutes? Seeing none, let's vote. I'm still trying to sign in here. I'm a yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
And that passes unanimously. Are there any agenda revisions and submission of documents that we want to give to for?
I have two things, Mayor,
Okay.
to note. Just wanted to note that we added item 7A, the special report, the update about airports from the Mayors and Commissioners Coalition.
Okay.
By yourself. We added that on Monday afternoon. Then also wanted to note that the public hearing and second reading for ordinances 9E and F, both the urban renewal project items, that second reading is not noted correctly. It should be November 18th, 2025.
Thank you very much for that.
Did you say November 18th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any motions to direct the city manager to add agenda items to future agendas? Seeing no other counselors, I do have one. I move to direct staff to bring back, oops. That always pops up when I'm trying to speak. To bring back a resolution for RTD to provide a one-seat ride for Longmont and Lafayette to Denver International Airport in their 2026 new service plan. This bus ride was historically called Sky Ride.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Christ. I'm sorry, it's been moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Christ. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Do we have a city manager's report?
Report, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. So we are now at special reports and presentations, and I asked our staff to please add me in this section because I have something that I would like to say to our residents, and no, it is not a final goodbye yet. So I added this item to the agenda to share some information with our residents. The Northwest Mayors and Commissioners Coalition, I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time pronouncing things tonight. It's called the NWMCC. It's a transportation advocacy group that meets monthly to discuss regional transportation issues. And I've been meeting every month with them for about 8.5 years. But our meeting last Thursday was really interesting. It was to review the 2026 policy for MCC. Not only do the commissioners and mayors attend this meeting, but it's also state and federal lobbyists for transportation. So they take everything that we say to heart and bring back, take with us to our annual trip to DC. And there's usually about 15 or 20 people who go to meet with our congresspeople and senators, et cetera. So, but at this meeting last week, there was a consensus of Boulder County mayors, and they noticed that out of our policy agenda for 2026, that the missing project for transit was airports. And I was so happy that a mayor brought that up. Because all of these cities in Boulder County are being inundated with traffic from airports, with a lot of complaints. So the MCC is very, it's very strong. It's very powerful. And the Congress people listen to us. So when we go in DC, I'm hoping that the next mayor who sits up here will advocate that we go to FAA and to our Congress people and advocate for local airports. But what does this mean? It means that we have a louder voice. It isn't just Longmont up here trying to figure it out. We can speak with a louder voice, and that's very, very important, with specific asks from FAA. But what I'm asking from the Airport Advisory Board, from the residents, for pro and con airport enthusiasts, to work together to build a relationship in resolving these airport issues that we as a group of the MCCs can take to Congress. It means compromises in attitudes and language, and we have to solve these airport rhetoric on how our city can run our own airports and work together as a county to get FAA's attention. So that is it. I am excited about this because it's always been a lone project for one city to get the voice of FAA. And now I think we have a way to do that. So thank you for listening to me. And we'll move on to first call public invited to be heard. The first one on the list is Jamie Freina.
Good evening, council members. There we go. All right. Good evening, Mayor Peck and council members. My name is Jamie Freina, and I live at 766 South Martin Street. You've seen me up here before for Dry Creek last year, and I've chatted with a few of you individually about a topic we'll be getting into soon. I'm here with several advocates tonight to speak on behalf of residents, volunteers, and nonprofits across Longmont who care deeply about protecting our city's wildlife. We're asking the city to update section 7.06 of the municipal code, not to create more work for staff or halt development, but to close loopholes that have allowed hundreds of acres of prairie dog habitat to be destroyed with no funds collected for restoration. As a board member of Grasslands Colorado, a nonprofit that protects our local wildlife, I've been able to go around to different cities, talk to different city representatives across the Front Range, and learn about their different prairie dog management. The proposed updates we're going to be going through today are nothing radical. They simply bring Longmont in line with the other cities in Colorado, like Fort Collins and Denver. And now you'll hear from residents who have experience firsthand with the current ordinance and how it fails to reflect community value, ecological best practices. And their stories will show how this isn't just a small activist effort. It's a growing call from residents citywide who want Longmont to lead with compassion, responsibility, and science. As a council with several environmentalists, I hope you see the benefit of these proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. The next one is Jeremy Gregory.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Peck, City Council. It's been a while since I've been here. I reside at 238 Sweet Valley Court And as some of you may know, I'm a third-generation Longmont native and the founder of Tindicon, an organization dedicated to advancing eco-social justice and humane education around the world. And I'm here tonight not just as an advocate, but as someone who loves this community, its people, its open spaces, and the diverse lives we share it with. Over the years, Longmont's black-tailed prairie dogs have become unwilling casualties of a system that too often prioritizes convenience and development over compassion and ecological balance. These intelligent social animals, vital to our grassland ecosystems, are being displaced, poisoned, and killed under loopholes that undermine the very ordinance meant to give them a fair chance at living. The changes we're proposing are, as Jamie just pointed out, not radical, and they don't seek to stop progress, only to level the playing field and to ensure that accountability and ethics extend to how we treat the most vulnerable members of our ecological community. And as we all know, on October 1st, sadly, the world lost a hero for the planet and the voiceless. Dr. Jane Goodall, a dear friend and mentor of mine, once said, "You cannot go through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." She taught me that humane education, understanding that every life matters, is not a philosophy, it's a moral compass. She believed, as I do, that the greatness of a community is measured not by industry, but by its compassion, empathy, and respect for life. Prairie dogs are a keystone species whose presence sustains entire ecosystems. And as Jane often reminded me, as she did countless others, we're not separate from the animal kingdom. We are a part of it, and what we do to them, we do to ourselves. The issue is about who we are as a community and what we stand for. Longmont has a chance to lead, to show the progress and compassion can, in fact, coexist. And by closing these loopholes, we're not creating obstacles, we're creating integrity. We're affirming that our community values extend to all who inhabit this land. And as Jane also said, hope is not passive, it's the resolve to take action, even when the odds seem impossible. So let's choose that kind of hope tonight. Let Longmont be known not only as a growing city, but as a compassionate community that listens to the land, honors its creatures, and leads by compassionate and moral example. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Virginia? What is this?
Hi, my name's Virginia Holman.
Holman, thank you.
Holman, Holman. I live at 600 Longs Peak Avenue. Mayor and council members, as you've just heard, prairie dogs are a keystone species supporting over 120 wildlife species with habitat and food, and enriching the natural heritage that our residents and visitors here deeply value. But beyond their ecological role, prairie dogs protect us, humans, from an urgent threat here in Longmont, and that is wildfire. When I was writing about prairie dogs for a recent article in a Longmont publication, I found Dr. Courtney Duchart's recently published research, which I'd be happy to email to you, which includes her study of the devastating Marshall Fire. And she found that prairie dog colonies create significant fire breaks, and that firefighters actively use these colony grounds to help contain and capture wildfires, which is a significant property-saving and life-saving tool. One of her mentors, Dr. David Augustine from the USDA, reinforced this message at a 2024 Longmont Grasslands Fire Workshop, where he urged firefighters to work with city planners to recognize prairie dog colonies as an essential component of their fire risk mitigation work. And that's really an opportunity for the town, I think, potentially for funding of both prairie dog conservation and protection from wildfires. It's time to update Longmont's ordinances to protect prairie dogs more effectively, prioritizing humane relocation, supporting non-lethal management, and recognizing their vital role in fire prevention. In doing so, we safeguard not only native wildlife, but implement smart stewardship, sorry, I'm dealing with my phone here, that helps protect our homes, families and future, and help cement Longmont's really forward-looking legacy. I've recently moved to Longmont from southeastern North Carolina, and it's such a wonderful place to live. And I think it's because it has been so thoughtfully planned for so many years, and your role in that is essential, and this is a big issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Mike McFerrin.
Hello, hi. My name is Mike McFerrin. I'm a father of three and resident at 1030 Deer Pond Court here in Longmont. This is my first time speaking to council, so thank you for hosting us. I am a resident, speaking about the same issue here, a resident in the Harvest Junction Village community over on your Quail campus near the Longmont Museum and Rec Center. And earlier this year, or actually in the last several years, a small colony of prairie dogs had taken up residence at the north end of our neighborhood at a small outlot property right next to Left Hand Creek and the creek path along Left Hand Creek there. It's a very beautiful segment of creek. There's beaver ponds and large trees and a whole lot of waterfowl there. It's really gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I highly encourage you to do so. But a small colony of prairie dogs, roughly 2 acres, had taken up residence there. Our HOA, who owns that 5-acre plot of land that they were mostly residing on, was had some disagreements about how to manage this. Some of them just wanted them gone, others wanted them preserved. A group of residents had taken up the issue and started doing research and seeing what a vital part of the ecosystem these small animals were, and had started up organizing for conservation approaches, including raising funds. We'd raised over $12,000 in donations from nonprofits and other just private donations. That included things like building a barrier fence to keep them from getting run over from traffic, things like removing invasive species of plants and replanting, sort of restoring a small patch of native grasslands habitat right along Left Hand Creek there. It would just sort of be a tiny little, not an official designation, but a tiny little conservation area for these animals. Part of the problem was that a small fraction of the colony lived on adjacent city land on Quail campus along a narrow strip of land next to a drainage culvert that leads into Left Hand Creek. Land was completely unused for any other purpose. When we had first talked to the city, they said, well, most of the colonies on the HOA land will just follow the HOA's lead, do whatever they do. It was very neutral, which seemed totally reasonable. But when we started getting to further conversations, it was apparent that the city officials we were talking to didn't have much interest in conservation. They were willing to pitch in for removal or for extermination of the animals, but not anything for conservation, which was fairly disheartening. And then when we went further in conversations, it became apparent that even if we tried to conserve on the private side of the land, that on the other side of the fence, they were going to remove the animals there anyway, likely. And so it was in part, and I don't want to overstate the case, it wasn't entirely because of that, but in part because of the city's reluctance to sort of get on board with any sort of, financially or otherwise, with any sort of conservation approach. The conservation project fell through. The animals were removed, trapped and sent off to to Pueblo. I'm out of time. So we're hoping that the city can take a more forward-looking approach in projects similar to this, where residents are putting in their time and efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Rivers. Anna. Rivers. Oh, okay.
Okay, good evening, council members and Mayor Peck. My name's Anna Rivas, 4501 Nelson Road. Again, regarding the prairie dog ordinance. Active prairie dog burrows are used to determine the boundaries of active prairie dog habitat on a parcel. And that is then used to determine if a parcel falls into a minor or a major permit category. But determining if a burrow is active can be a very subjective call. And on top of that, there's another loophole for determining the number of acres that contain just the active burrows. Active prairie dog habitat is defined as the smallest possible area of a polygon, encompassing all active prairie dog burrows on a property. If the area is more than 1.5 acres, the permitting process is more involved. Per the code, If a person seeking to destroy prairie dogs on property that has an active prairie dog habitat greater than 1.5 acres, or that does not have existing urban level development, they must first attempt in good faith to relocate the prairie dogs. However, if the area is less than 1.5 acres, it falls into a minor permit application category, which means no attempt to relocate needs to be made, and the permit to kill can be expedited. Now here's where the problem lies. Say you have, and for the sake of simplicity, the pink dots, if you hope you can see them, represent boroughs. The green is the boundary. This is using what's called a convex hull polygon. If that's 1.74 acres, somebody who wants to reduce it, the size, so that they can permit to active killing or proceed to active killing, can do so by just simply creating a smaller polygon. Now you have it 0.7 acres, which brings it to down to the limit where they no longer have to worry about any major permit applications. If you want to get really crazy, you can minimize that polygon even more. I don't know if you can see that one. Just he's very, very skinny. I mean, so that's what I'm talking about. That's a loophole that I think needs to be fixed. The wording needs to be changed to say that applicants must form a convex hull polygon with the possible exceptions if the large-scale shape of the colony or parcel is highly irregular. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Susan Summers.
Well, hi. Susan Summers, 1418 Galilee Lane. It's probably been about 6 years since I've been here. And that last time I want to remember as when you guys passed, or a couple of you actually passed this prairie dog ordinance that Jeremy and Anna and myself spent 2 years working on. So since that got passed, we have saved thousands of prairie dogs in this city. So I want to thank you guys for that, and hoping to thank the rest of you moving forward for getting us to make some changes on that ordinance. It took us 6 years to kind of see how it was working, where we felt there were some holes in it, and now we're coming forward with some changes that we'd like to see being spearheaded by Jamie. And I'd have to say it's nice to see a young generation stepping up here with the energy that he has to try to get this all together. So the point I wanted to talk about was our requested change number 5. Our request is to add a limitation on the acreage of prairie dogs allowed to be killed on a site deemed existing urban level development. There is currently no restriction on how many acres of prairie dogs can be killed on this type of property. We are requesting this change because there have been circumstances where an existing urban level development property that had well over 1.5 acres of prairie dogs was issued a minor extermination permit simply because the site was classified as existing urban development. The example I want to give you here is McLean Trucking. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but it's at the corner of Ken Pratt and County Road 1. That is a 143 acre parcel that is 19% developed and has 27 acres of prairie dogs. That's deemed existing urban level development. They were actually given a permit to exterminate 27 acres of prairie dogs, a minor permit, no charges for the permit, and no obligation to even try to move these prairie dogs, simply because there were buildings on part of the property. So that's happened more than, or at least twice that I know of, and it will likely happen again because prairie dogs move areas get incorporated into the city and then subsequently developed. So we are asking that 1.5 acres be added as the threshold for a minor permit. It doesn't change anything. The reason this wording was put in there in the first place, it was by Dan Wolford. I don't know if any of you remember him, but I remember talking to him when he suggested it, and it was, so if you live in an apartment community and a couple prairie dogs come onto the grassy area, it should be easy for that apartment community to remove those prairie dogs. And we thought, that sounds like a great idea. You know, now 6 years later, we realize it's kind of a loophole. So we're asking that be added a threshold of 1.5, just like it is with a minor permit. Perfect timing. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Amber Novotny.
Hi, I'm Amber Novotny. I live at 1200 Kimbark Street. One key improvement we'd like the council to consider tonight is earlier public reporting of prairie dog colonies associated with development applications. Right now, the city's online prairie dog management webpage only lists colonies after a developer has decided to move forward with relocation or extermination. By that point, it's often too late for advocates and relocators to prepare humane alternatives. For example, West Grange filing 4, we know there will be development. We know there are prairie dogs. Pueblo Chem Depot is accepting prairie dogs right now, but the developers likely won't be submitting an application for prairie dog management until after Pueblo is closed for the season. We are asking that when a development application is first submitted, if the site includes prairie dogs, the information be added to the city's website immediately. This could be as simple as adding a new under application category on the existing page. This small procedural change would give everyone, residents, staff, and developers, more time to coordinate relocation plans, prevent last-minute conflicts, and ensure that Longmont's process is transparent from start to finish. This update supports the same goals as the ordinance revisions you're hearing about tonight: improving communication, closing information gaps, and helping the city make humane, efficient, and forward-thinking decisions. I believe how one treats animals speaks to their character. Longmont has the opportunity to shift people's mindsets and enact positive change literally from the ground up. Thank you for your time.
Let's see. Thank you, Amber. Julie Costley.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Julie.
Julie Koska.
Costa.
I live at 729 in Emery Street. Longmont has changed dramatically since the ordinance was first implemented back in 2018. Since then, urban growth has accelerated and wildlife space has dwindled. Eagles have been spotted at Dry Creek, looking for food but finding none. Coyotes and foxes have been seen in neighborhoods since their food source was taken away. These updates that we're talking about here today, they're not anti-development, they're pro-balance. They ensure that as Longmont grows, we don't erase the wildlife that makes this city special. We have volunteers, nonprofits, and residents ready to help implement these changes. All we need is your leadership to move this amendment forward. There are loopholes that can be and are abused, so why not close them? Please give these topics the attention they deserve and direct staff to process them. Let's keep Longmont a city where people are proud to live.
Thank you. Lance Whitaker.
Hello, Lance Whitaker, Mayor Joan Peck, and Council. My name's Lance Whitaker, 17...
Lance, would you pull that microphone up, please?
Uh-oh.
And lean closer to it.
I should be used to this by now, huh?
I think so.
My name's Lance Whitaker, 1750 Collier Street. Been a resident for over 40 some odd years. Love living in here in Longmont, even though I've lived here 44 years. Today is National Real Sugar Day. It is also National Desert Day, and that's a desert, not dessert. So I know I'm hungry all the time, but... And then it's also Be Bald and Be Free Day. And if my hair goes any further down the drain, then I'll be doing that. So everybody have a good day, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lance. Ryan Forbes.
Ryan Forbes, 2220 Water Song Circle. So when I grew up, there were two groups of people that my mom especially told me that were to be held in higher regard. And one was service members, and other were people seeking or in public office. And for people who were serving, it was because they went through a lot more physical training, a lot more to get into it. And for people in public office, it was because they put themselves out there and were working for the community. And they were also willing to put themselves under public scrutiny to be out there. I know right now we are about to, this council's they're about to have an election. We're about to have a new council come in here. We're about to decide who is coming in. And the reason I'm up here is because I feel like a lot of the candidates are not living up to that higher level of scrutiny and abusing some of the trust of the people of Longmont by not being honest. And I know part of me feels like it should be up to the people, should be able to decide. But this has become a trend that has been a federal trend, state trend, and now it's here. And I think it is something that our city should at least be on the minds of, that looking at ways that we can find ways to guard against. One of the ways may have to be like during public debate forums, not live streaming them, and then fact checking them before they go out. And it really, I really thought hard about what to say today before coming up here. But it also really pains me to see that people who want to be up here, who want to sit in these seats, don't want to live up to that trust that you up here have really taken good care of. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Phil Hainline. Phil? Well, I've got you at number 12, so I'm counting.
Yeah, but there was only 7.
Oh.
So, hi there. Glad it works. I heard it wasn't. So, Phil Hainline, 500. Lastly, if you remember me from last year, I'm your magical guy. And I believe in magic in 2 contexts. Like the magician Teller said, merely somebody who works harder than anybody could reasonably expect. That's how you create magic. And the second form of magic I believe in is in transformation. On my way up in New York City Theater Light and Sound, I had the opportunity to do sound for Steve Martin, comedy on his way up. Comedy act, absolutely the easiest gig you can ever get. But his opening act was a 6'6" auto harp player. And there was 1,000 drunk, rowdy people in the audience, and the transformation was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I won't bore you with the rest of the story. Moving on. But LPM, for all you, it's Longmont Public Media, they all know about it, is truly magical and absolutely unique. Some of our members have been dribbling in here to tell you about it, and we'd love to turn out in a bigger force, but we're hoping to know when it might be actually on the agenda, because 1 week for this creative crowd just isn't enough time to get on their calendar. So it's just a little hope and prayer there. They would love to come. And we promise they won't all talk, and to that end, we made a short video because we truly believe that it's better to show than to tell. And so if the PA works, and these beautiful little speakers up here that have heard so much serious stuff, I can tell you the soundtrack is great. And yeah, we'd like to highlight what LPM does, both for the city and the community. Ta-da, I'm done.
So there is no video? Okay. Steve Altshuler.
Good evening. Steve Altshuler, still Steve Altshuler, 1555 Taylor Drive. I know this is going to be coming up in short order, so I wanted to get ahead of the curve and talk a little bit about minimum wage. A little over, I think it was almost 2 years ago, Governor Newsom in California mandated an increase in minimum wage for fast food people from $15 to $20 an hour. Within the first year, several thousand fast food restaurants have gone out of business, and over 65,000 people lost their jobs. Some of it was because of those businesses that shut down, and a lot of it was because of automation. Boulder recently, I believe, raised the minimum wage. Somehow it affected Niwot, and I was talking to some people in Niwot, and 6 businesses have gone out of business in Niwot. They either shut down or they moved out to Weld County because they couldn't afford to stay in business. With the talk of the minimum wage here is going up from $16 to, I believe, $22 an hour. That's a huge jump. I would like to see more people make more money, but I think what we need to do is help increase the value and the productivity of the businesses in Longmont, help get more businesses in Longmont like Diane has done with the old Safeway building at 17th and Pace. The more businesses we have, I believe that was Diane did that anyway. The more businesses we have, the more employment there will be. The more employment there will be, the higher the demand for better employees. And then the businesses will pay more because they'd rather pay someone a little bit more than have to hire and train new people. So the best way to get wages to go up is organically by having businesses be more successful. Just to force an increase in minimum wage will create a lot of unemployment. The other side of the coin is, as Newsom found out but chose to ignore, with fast food restaurants, as food prices have to go up to cover the extra minimum wage charges, a lot of people then can get more raises where they work, but seniors can't. Seniors that are stuck living on Social Security have a fixed income. So if the things they want to buy go up in price, they're just shafted. So I'm all in favor of people making more money, but it should be done organically and not something that a city or even a county forces on people, because that's going to hurt a lot of our senior citizens and a lot of our poorer citizens also. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Seeing no one else on the list, I'm going to close. Yes? You're not signed up. I'm sorry. Okay. I will close. First call, public invited to be heard. Oh, thank you, Erin. Ma'am, you can speak at the end. Thank you. You're welcome. Now we are on our consent agenda, and Dawn, this is a huge consent agenda. So if you need to take a break in between, feel free.
Thank you, Mayor.
Would you mind reading the consent agenda into the record?
Absolutely, Mayor. The second reading and public hearing for all ordinances introduced tonight will be held on October 28th, 2025, except for ordinance 2025-69 and ordinance 2025-70. That second reading is on November 18th, 2025. Okay. Item 9A is ordinance 2025-61, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the city of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025. Item 9B is ordinance 2025-62, a bill for an ordinance amending chapter 14.12 of the Longmont Municipal Code concerning solid waste collection and rates. Item 9C 1 through 5 are the 2026 budget ordinances. C1 is ordinance 2025-63, a bill for an ordinance fixing and levying taxes upon the real and personal property within the city of Longmont for the year 2025 to pay budgeted expenses for the 2026 fiscal year. 9C2 is ordinance 2025-64, a bill for an ordinance fixing and levying taxes upon the real and personal property within the Longmont Downtown Development District for the year 2025 to pay budgeted expenses of the Longmont Downtown Development Authority for the 2026 fiscal year. 9C3, ordinance 2025-65, a bill for an ordinance adopting the budget for the city of Longmont for the year 2026. 9C4 is ordinance 2025-66, a bill for an ordinance making appropriations for the expenses and liabilities of the city of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2026. 9C5 is ordinance 2025-67, a bill for an ordinance amending title of the Longmont Municipal Code on Revenue and Finance by creating the Information Technology Service Fund. 9D is ordinance 2025-68, a bill for an ordinance amending Title 15 of the Longmont Municipal Code concerning new recycling facilities and uses. Item 9E is ordinance 2025-69, a bill for an ordinance making certain legislative findings and approving the second amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Twin Peaks Mall Urban Renewal Project. 9F is ordinance 2025-70, a bill for an ordinance making certain legislative findings and approving the first amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Southeast Longmont Urban Renewal Project. 9G is ordinance 2025-71, a bill for an ordinance approving an economic incentive agreement with Micron Technology, Inc. Item 9H is resolution 2025-54, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and Boulder County for affordable housing funding for personal finance counseling. 9I is resolutions 2025-55, a resolution of the Longmont City Council directing staff to process an application referral for extraterritorial sewer service for LifeBridge Church at 10345 Ute Highway. 9J is resolution 2025-56, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the Strategic Fuels Mitigation Grant Program agreement between the city of Longmont and Boulder County. And 9K is resolution 2025-57, a resolution of the Longmont City Council conditionally approving the LFM Business Improvement District's 2026 operating plan and draft budget.
Good job. Are there any, does council want to pull any of the items on the consent agenda? Councilor Christ.
I would like to pull 9B as in boy and 9D as in Delta.
Okay, seeing no one else, I have a couple. I would like to pull 9H and 9I. So I'll move the consent agenda minus items B, D, H, and I. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Susie Hidalgo Rodriguez. I cannot get you out of my mind as Mayor Pro Tem Susie Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. I'm glad I can entertain you. And that passes unanimously. All right. We are now at ordinances on second reading and public hearing on any item. The first one is A, it's 2025-54, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the vacation of one LPC easement, one access sanitary sewer and fire hydrant easement, and one access water and sanitary sewer easement located within the boundary of the Highlands at Fox Hill Minor Subdivision Plat. Do any councilors want to comment or question this bill? Seeing no one, I'll open up the public hearing on 2025-54. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this bill? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Ordinance 2025-54.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Susan Hidalgo Faring. Got it. Let's vote. Don't say anything. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. We're all in a pretty good mood up here, so bear with us. The second one is an amendment to Ordinance 2025-55 after first reading for approval on the second reading. Explain this to me.
Mayor, the ordinance title, just for the record, is Ordinance 2025-55, a bill for an ordinance amending Section
Okay.
1504030 of the Longmont Municipal Code concerning review criteria for developments adjacent to parks, greenways, and open space because that was amended after first reading.
That's
So
right.
the amended ordinance is what's attached at item B.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Does anyone on council have a question or a comment on 2025-55? Seeing no one, I'll open up the public hearing on this bill for this ordinance. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address 2025-55? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on 2025-55 and ask for a motion.
I move ordinance 2025-55.
Counselor Popkin, is your light on because you wanted to second it, or you had a comment? Go ahead, Counselor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Yeah, I seconded it. I just wanted to let members of the public know we discussed this about 2 weeks ago. So if you're curious to hear like a fairly extensive discussion on this one, that did occur like 2 weeks ago because this was an interesting topic. So that's all I just wanted to know.
We had a lot of discussion. Thank you, Counselor Popkin. So let's vote. That was made by, the motion was made by Counselor Chris, seconded by Counselor Popkin. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. Thank you. The next one is C, ordinances for 6 land use applications to guide the long-term transition of the 209-acre Irwin Thomas property from active gravel mining to urban development.
Mayor, and if I might just quickly read each of those into the record and clarify that there are presentations. We would do one public hearing for all of those at one time,
Okay.
but then vote on them individually. So if I can read those into the record quickly before Kristen begins.
Please, thank you.
10C1 is ordinance 2025-56, a bill for an ordinance approving the Irwin Thomas and Vision Land Use Amendment and level of service considerations at 2 intersections of Ken Pratt Boulevard and conditionally approving the Irwin Thomas Concept Plan Amendment. 10C2 is ordinance 2025-57, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the rezoning of those parts of the southwest and southeast quarters, section 11, Irwin Thomas Development, and changing the zoning from planned urban development, PUD, to mixed-use corridor, MUC, and residential mixed neighborhood, RMN. 10C3 is ordinance 2025-58, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the rezoning of those parts of land in the east half of section 11, Irwin Thomas Development, and changing the zoning from planned unit development, PUD, to residential single-family, R-SF, and residential mixed neighborhood, R-MN. 10C4 is ordinance 2025-59, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the Irwin Thomas gravel mining final PUD plan, amendment number 3. And 10C5 is ordinance 2025-60, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the Irwin Thomas gravel mining final PUD plan, amendment number 4.
Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Peck and council members. I am Kristen Cody, a senior planner in Planning and Development Services. This evening, I will be presenting to you the Irwin Thomas applications, which includes an Envision Longmont land use amendment, a concept plan amendment with a loss factor consideration, 2 rezonings, and 2 gravel mining PUD amendments. I'll also cover the Planning and Zoning Commission's public hearing and recommendations of conditional approval. The property under consideration is located east of Harvest Moon Drive, south of Ken Pratt Boulevard, and west of North 119th Street. It was annexed in 2017 as part of the Irwin Thomas No. 1 annexation, and the site is currently zoned planned unit development, and Envision Longmont designates it as mixed-use corridor, single-family neighborhood, and mixed neighborhood. Tonight, we are reviewing the 6 related applications that I spoke of when I introduced this presentation. Together, these requests update the land use framework and zoning for portions of the Irwin Thomas property as the gravel mining and reclamation are completed. This request is in reference to the Envision Longmont land use amendment and request to reconfigure the existing land uses by adjusting the single-family neighborhood and the mixed-use corridor and adding some additional area to the land designated as mixed neighborhood. This slide is in reference to the concept plan amendment. The amendment is proposed to the Irwin Thomas concept plan to account for the phased gravel mining and to incorporate the reclaimed land as development areas get mined out. The concept plan amendment applies to land adjacent to and east of Harvest Moon Drive, updating the plan to reflect its transition from reclaimed mining land to future development following the completion of reclamation. The next two slides will discuss the rezonings. Rezoning number 1 applies to the reclaimed areas east of Harvest Moon Drive. It rezones approximately 17.7 acres to mixed-use neighborhood, which you'll see in purple, and 22.1 acres to residential mixed neighborhood. Rezoning number 2 applies to the easternmost portion of the property. It rezones 85 acres to residential single family, which you see in the yellow, and the remainder to residential mixed neighborhood, which is this general area in orange. Both rezonings align with the proposed envisioned land use amendment. The PUD amendment number 3 removes the area directly east of Harvest Moon Drive from the gravel mining PUD to allow for land use planning, and you see that area in thatched red. Amendment number 4 removes the easternmost portion of the PUD to reflect anticipated development after reclamation is complete, and that area is thatched in red on this slide. So what do these applications do? It's important to note that no physical construction is authorized at this stage. These requests establish the framework for future development of the property. Detailed subdivisions and site plans will be required for the development of this site. The applicant has requested a condition to the concept plan, and that is the total density for phase 5 may be increased up to 25%, subject to administrative approval. Any increase above 25% would require a formal concept plan amendment. This request provides flexibility for the development of the property, while the code allows administrative modifications up to 25% in certain instances. It does not apply to densities approved by ordinance through a concept plan. With this condition proposed, densities will remain within code standards, with mixed-use neighborhood being at a maximum of 13.56 DUs per acre, and the RSF, residential single family, at 2.58 development units per acre. Public outreach included a neighborhood meeting in May of 2025, notices mailed in June and August, and agency referrals. Comments included comments from Left Hand Water District requiring exclusion before construction. Northern Water indicated requirement of joining the municipal subdistrict. CDOT requires future traffic study reviews, and Excel requested their standard easements. Some comments were also made questioning the adequacy of the property postings in reference to the Planning Commission meeting, and I will discuss that. So the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on August 27, 2025. Concerns were raised regarding site postings under Longmont Development Code requirements. The commission reviewed compliance with section 1502.040 and determined by a 6-to-1 vote that the postings met the minimum standards and achieved substantial compliance. This slide details a bit in reference to the level of service or loss discussion. So you're looking at level of service for Ken Pratt Boulevard and South Martin Street at a loss level D as of 2030, and Ken Pratt Boulevard and South Martin and Harvest Moon by the 2045 standard. The traffic impact study identifies future deficiencies along Ken Pratt Boulevard and South Martin. The commission acknowledged that these reflect the broader regional conditions, and future phases of said development would require updated traffic impact analysis, CDOT coordination, and mitigation members. For this stage, the commission found the loss results acceptable. The commission voted 6-1 to recommend approval of the envisioned land use amendment with no conditions, the concept plan amendment with the 25 density allowance for phase 5, rezonings 1 and 2 contingent on the completion and reclamation of each phase, the gravel mining PUD amendments number 3 and 4 contingent on the recordation of the land use amendment and completion of reclamation and approval of the loss findings. Staff recommends considering conditional approval of the applications consistent with the Planning Commission recommendations. That includes allowing a 25% density increase on Phase 5, subject to staff review, requiring reclamation prior to certification of rezoning ordinances, ensuring all other applicable standards are met before future development occurs. In conclusion, these requests would establish the updated land use and zoning frameworks for the Irwin Thomas property as it transitions from active gravel mining to future development. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant is present and does have a presentation of their own, and I am available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Mayor Peck and Council, Barb Brunk, Resource Conservation Partners, P.O. Box 1522, Longmont, Colorado. I'm here on behalf of Diamond G Concrete Company and Golden Farm. With me this evening are Reggie Golden and Drew Golden with Diamond G Concrete Company, Brian Williamson and James Bruntz with TST Engineering. So that's our team to answer questions as we move through the process. Again, Kristen just went through the list. We have 6 items. It sounds like a lot, but it's a very straightforward, simple process to establish a framework to develop the property after the mining and reclamation are complete. Operator. Got it. Okay, this is back to the context. So the area hatched in yellow is Irwin Thomas Annexation Number 1, and the portion that we're talking about is not the whole annexation. It's only the portion of the annexation located south of the highway. So this is a pretty current aerial, so you can see where there are the gravel ponds are, these are lined ponds that are lined and ready to be finished. This area is being backfilled. There's a little bit of active mining here, and there are berms around this edge that are screening the activity both from Harvest Moon Drive and the neighbors to the south. So that the idea is that as the property is reclaimed, the piece closest to Harvest Moon will get developed first, and then the rest of the property will be developed in the future. This is the existing Longmont, envision Longmont again. Regional, Costco, regional commercial. This is the mixed highway. This is single family, and this is the neighborhood. So this is the change. And the important thing here is that the only thing changing is what's happening east of Harvest Moon Drive. The area that's hatched there is not changing. It's mostly developed or under development, and it also went through the preliminary plat process. So it's already a little further along in the entitlement process. So these pieces will have to go back through that process in the future. The land use that's designated on the table in the Envision Longmont is the maximum allowed. The concept plan establishes it, but the full range is set forth in the Envision Longmont Land Use Amendment. Again, regional center, 25 acres, not changing. Mixed use corridor, 17 acres as part of this application. Mixed neighborhoods, 74 acres. And that got bigger so that if we're lucky enough to have another for sale affordable housing project in this neighborhood, there's enough room on the other side of Harvest Moon Drive to let that happen. The skinny little piece wasn't deep enough for that to happen, so the piece had to get deeper to provide more room to allow that opportunity in the future. So it changes the mix of uses in the residential neighborhood here. This is a concept plan, and again, the top 3 are the existing. The phasing, phase 1 doesn't change. Phase 2 reflects development and mining. Phase 3 reflects reclamation and development. Phase 4 reflects development and reclamation. And phase 5 is the entire site. And in the piece north of the highway, which is included in this application because it was part of the original concept plan, is not changing as part of this application. That is city open space. It'll still be city open space when we're done. So it'll be mined and reclaimed consistent with the concept plan and the mining permits as we move forward. No change to the city property as part of this process. This is about the density increase. So a concept plan really is the rule for how much density is allowed on the property, and we don't really know exactly what's going to happen here. So rather than have to come back through the whole process and take everyone's time, we added a request to increase 25%. That's 25% of the land use on the table in the concept plan, not 25% more than the density of the zoning will allow, which is pretty significant distinction. So it's adding units to what's established on that table on the concept plan. And this is that table. So the plus 25%, it actually also includes the square footage in the regional center and the mixed neighborhood, so that, if something happens on the Costco site and it redevelops and something bigger comes along, there's room in the concept plan to allow that to happen. So the gray is what's existing, the yellow is with the addition. So the potential is to add 6,500 square feet to the regional center, 201 units to the mixed neighborhood, 28,675 square feet to the mixed-use corridor, and 44 units to the single-family neighborhood. So the plus 25 total would be that 325, 1,004, 142, 375, and 218. And so that's the maximum it could be. It could be less than that, but it would go through the administrative review process. Again, this is the rezoning, and Kristen covered this. On the left is the existing PUD. On the right is the rezoning phase 1. And again, that's the area that will be developed first and will be reclaimed sooner. And so that's why that's the first rezoning. We need the PUD to continue mining, so that's why it has to come out as we go forward. Then this is the end. So this shows the PUD after the initial zoning is approved, and that's the rest of the reclaimed gravel mining area. So when we're done, everything south of the highway will be zoned for regular development. It'll come through the process. It'll have to go through preliminary plat, final plat, development, all through the development review process. This is just the framework for that, and it takes it out of the PUD. When the property was annexed, the PUD was established for Irwin-Thomas Annexation Number 1 and Irwin-Thomas Annexation Number 2. And this map shows the two annexations. The area north of the highway, which includes the city property that was annexed with Irwin-Thomas Annexation Number 1 and all of Irwin-Thomas Annexation Number 2, is not changing. It'll still be in the PUD. It'll still be covered under the allowance for mining. The area that's coming out, you'll see on the left here, that's what we took out of the PUD for the Costco project and the affordable housing project. So the remainder of the property south of the road will come out of the PUD if these applications move forward. And that will happen in 2 phases. Again, Kristen showed you this. The hatch red, so there'll be mining, there'll be development, and there'll still be mining, and then there'll be development and reclamation. The next PUD will be, all of the ground will be mined, it'll be developed, and this is how it ends up as reclaimed. So when we're finished, all of the ground south of the highway will be removed from the PUD in 2 phases. We believe the applications meet the criteria for approval as outlined in the Longmont Code, sections 1502.055, review criteria for all application types, Section 1502.060, review standards and procedures for specific major development applications. 1502.060B3, comprehensive plan amendments, and 1502.060 F5, rezoning, amendments to the official zoning map and concept plan amendments. Specific details of how we meet that criteria are included in your packet in the letter from Resource Conservation Partners to City Council, dated September 2nd, 2025. We respectfully request that you consider approving the applications for the land use amendment, concept plan amendment, rezoning number 1, rezoning number 2, PUD amendment number 3, and PUD development plan amendment number 4, all subject to the specific conditions in the ordinances that you're going forward. So it's ordinance 02025-056, 025-057, 025-058, 025059, and 025060. We wish to commend staff for their effort to help us get this for you to look at this evening, and we appreciate your time. Our team is here to answer your questions.
Thank you, Kristen and Ms. Bruns. That was incredibly detailed, and I appreciate it, with maps and spelling out. Answered a lot of questions. So we are back to council. Are there any comments from councilors on this presentation and on Councilor Popkin?
All right, I'll kick things off. I know that's unusual. Kristen, thank you so much, and thank you to the applicant team. I do have maybe a question for possibly one or both of you. We'll start with you, Kristen. Thank you. Clearly, reading through this over the last couple weeks has been really, honestly, pretty exciting. And there's a lot of work that's clearly gone into this. Thanks for all the work there, and kind of it creates some new opportunities, unlike in South Longmont there. So, thank you for the work. It's currently zoned to PUD. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And when I look at our code in terms of what Title 15, Section 3.060 for the PUD section says, it really says that PUDs are intended to encourage innovative site design and land use planning to provide for more creative design than would otherwise be achieved through the strict application of a base zoning district. I don't have inherently significant concerns with the rezoning here. I'm just curious, what's the thought process or logic, and if the applicant's better to speak to this, that's helpful. But just curious, it sounds like there are some creative ideas on the horizon for what might be operationalized here or developed longer term. Just curious why the rezoning from a PUD to the mixed neighborhood and the single family.
Sure, and that would be a better question to be addressed by
Sure.
the consultant for the applicant. So I will have Barb do that.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Mayor Peck and Councilman Popkin, the reason it was zoned PUD was because at the time the property was annexed, the only way we could do the gravel mining to recover the resource was through a planned unit development. The concept of changing it, straight zoning is more simple. The code still allows for creativity and diversity in all of those zones. The zones are specific to mixed uses, different kinds of sizes of units, types of units, different uses. All of those zones allow for that. It's much more straightforward for people to go through the straight zoning process. However, it could be that at some time in the future we would need a PUD. That happened on the House Pat site because smaller lots, skinnier streets. I mean, some of the things we did over there required a PUD for that creativity. However, the city is in process of updating the code to allow for an urban level of development standards. And with that, it may be possible to do those things without a PUD.
Sure.
So sometimes I think a PUD is if you want, you can't do it in the code. We believe we can do it within the code moving forward.
Great, that's super helpful. I think what council here has heard from residents and kind of consistently discussed at different points, and different council members have raised these points on cottage-style houses, ADU flexibility, kind of walkout senior housing, a whole range. And when I look at, hey, we have this mixed neighborhood and single-family neighborhood opportunities to really create to create neighborhoods here. I mean, that's the scale we're looking at, which doesn't come along all the time. So I just want to make sure we do have enough flexibility to meet kind of evolving housing needs in Longmont. And so it sounds like from your answer we do, and that this rezoning currently does kind of set up for that in various ways.
That's the intention. If it doesn't, we'll be right back here in front of you asking for a planned unit development. And someone will be scratching their head saying, excuse me, you took that away before. But we believe that the code has been designed to allow that creativity to happen at this point.
Great, and even for the residential single family zone area?
Yeah.
Great, cool, I appreciate it, thank you.
Seeing no one else in the queue, I will open up the public hearing on these 5 ordinances. Let's see. I don't want to name them all again. It is 2025 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. We're going to do them in a batch since they were presented that way. So, is there anybody in the public that would like to address this Irwin Thomas concept plan? Okay. State your name and address for us, and pull that microphone close.
Yes, my name is Megan Sikaros, and I live at 2005 Sunset Way at the Zinnia Apartments. And I guess my concern is, it's been brought up in several other council meetings, is that we have housing and that people aren't being housed in it. So I'm a little curious about why they're trying to do the multifamily homes. I was here, I guess it was over a year ago when they were planning the multifamily homes, and I think they look fantastic, but I'm not sure about that specific need. I was told that there are about 350 units of housing that we aren't using. So I'm not really sure on why we're buying, creating more housing. So I mean, if it's for the homeless, then I think that sounds really great. I don't know if we're trying to attract more people here, but I think that we have a really good sized community. So I don't know that that would be something that's necessary. And then, so I mean, I guess the only need that I could see is housing the homeless. Now, for multifamily homes, I think that we have plenty of apartment complexes. I personally would love to see some duplexes. I think the plans look great. But once again, if we already have housing that's not being used, and especially with the economy, with the budget that's coming up, if we're facing President Trump, and we're also facing socioeconomic deprivation just due to the minimum wage and the discrepancies between the fact that there isn't a cap on apartment complex prices. Furthermore, on these, I know I liked some of the plans for the duplexes, or the multifamily homes, but at the same time, we need to have something be a little bit more reasonable in the affordable range when things are being created and throughout that process. Because sometimes 30% of your wage, if you're not making that much, is actually like 90% of your wage if you're having to pay for food and other things. So you're still going to have to be sacrificing, and then there aren't as many protections for people. You can talk about FMLA, you can talk about whatever, but if there's something that happens, the person's going to lose that place, and that isn't something that I think that we should be building if we don't have protections for the people in the first place. Like EFA is there. I know that we also have, what are some of the other agencies? The R Center is there. If you go to the county, you can get some help and support. Some of the churches, those will support you, but once again, if there's going to be all these houses created and they're just going to sit there and that we're going to look at an empty unit, I don't know if it's practical.
Thank you for your comments. If you want answers to how many units are available, I would check with our planning department to see how many of those have been.
Bless you.
built.
Thank you.
Now, seeing no one else, I would like a motion for these ordinances.
We'll go one by one on motion.
Do you
and
want to
voting.
do it
One by one,
one?
please, Mary
All
Ann.
right.
Thank you.
All right, we are looking at, let me go back up here, 2025-56. May I have a motion for 2025-56?
Second.
Moved by Councilor Popkin, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Faring. I'm never going to get over this. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. The next one is 2025-57. It's been moved by Councilor Chris, seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. The next one is 2025-58. Moved by Councilor Yarbrough, seconded by Councilor Popkin, was it? Yes. Okay. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. 2025-59.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Chris, seconded by Councilor Popkin. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. The last one, 2025-60. Moved by Counselor Yarbrough, seconded by Counselor Popkin. Let's vote. And it passes unanimously. So that is, we are done with our part of that agenda. Thank you so much. Now we are at items that have been removed from the agenda. Do we need a break? Anyone? Ready to keep going? Okay. The items removed from the consent agenda, the first ones go to Counselor Christ. They're item B, 9B and 9D. 9B. Can you, okay.
Yeah, I got it. Hello.
Just for the residents in attending, this was a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 14.12 of the Longmont Municipal Code concerning solid waste collection and rates.
Yeah. Tell me when this goes into effect. Is it January 1st?
Good evening, Lance Smith, Director of Business Enablement. Yes, it does go into effect January 1st.
Okay. So this is October. It's the end of the third quarter, and everybody's paying their taxes and looking at their profit and loss sheets and their balance sheets and how much money they didn't make this year. This ordinance seeks to add a service charge of $2.96 for waste management fee to commercial entities that have not had that fee and actually don't have waste management services at this time. So I have a question as to how are you presenting this to commercial entities? Do they know that this is coming down the pike, especially after Christmas?
So I'm not sure exactly what the outreach will be, but I would assume that we would be putting something either in their bill or sending them a letter explaining to them the services that they will have available to them.
Okay. Let me say that I think some of these services would be very desirable for commercial entities. But I will also say that after our minimum wage fishbowl, I realize there are many smaller entities that would also be charged this fee where $3 a month is a lot of money for them. And they wouldn't be using recycling, for instance, or one of the other ones that comes up for me is shredding. Sometimes entities want to do shredding. And as we know from a lot of the emails we've gotten recently, even when you're receiving services, sometimes a $3 fee per month can seem like a big change in the budget. So I'm going to suggest an amendment, at least for next year, and that would be to offer the services, but make them voluntary, offer them to commercial entities at a competitive rate, maybe that for sure covers your cost, plus 20%. I'm just throwing out a number, but I would want it to be less than the market rate or just equal to the market rate for those services. And I actually think you would get more money and less pushback if people voluntarily buy into it, at least in the first year. And it would be a great way to engage with the public, the commercial public, about why they might want to also sign on to this project or, program. Tell me what you think, Mr. Smith, because you're a numbers guy.
Well, that is an interesting idea. That wasn't what we had talked about when we came to you before. And I asked for clear direction about it, and that was why you're seeing what you're seeing now. I guess if you're asking us to revisit that, we can, but that was not the direction we received before.
Oh, I'm aware. I know we talked, and that was before, but now as I'm working my way through commercial entities and their taxable situations and their income situations, and I also want to add that along with this, the legislature has said that they're reducing or removing the vendor fee for sales tax, and I have concern that some entities are then going to have people buy directly so that they don't have sales taxable scenarios. It's a weird environment out there economically, and I just want to be cognizant of that. We really haven't pre-disastered this by telling people, hey, this is coming at the first of the year, so it'll be a big surprise to them since they don't actually get waste management at this time. So I guess my big question is, what do you think the price would be for those services in the economy? Do you have any idea what covers your costs and what the market rate for shredding and recycling is?
Recycling, I think, depends on the specific materials being recycled. Shredding is not something that would be covered here. It would be, they would be able to recycle cardboard and metal, but shredding is not part of that.
That is desirable for many industrial sites. But for instance, if you run a restaurant, which you're also a commercial entity, you're not going to use that. You're not going to necessarily recycle some of those types of products. And if you have, say, a business firm that maybe would be interested in shredding. So I mentioned shredding before because I do hear an interest in that from commercial entities, that they would like to have shredding services through the city. For one, it's an opportunity. Sometimes it costs a lot just to set up shredding services. Like a lot of time and and I think the city could do it better, and it's an opportunity to make some money off of that for the city for the next year. So, what do you think about the costs, the cost pass through?
So I think we could look at what the rates would need to be if we don't include these non-residential customers in the waste management fee. Those costs would then need to be collected through the residential customers. So we could revisit that, but again, that wasn't the direction we were given before. That was why I was asking for that direction at that time. So I don't have that number.
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't have this great idea then. But as I've been working through this problem and thinking about it a lot, I do think a voluntary program might be more beneficial for the public. So I guess I'm not saying you have to pass those costs this year onto residential, but I think you could make the same amount that you anticipate making with $2.96. I think you could make that same amount or better with a voluntary program. Hello.
Hi. Mayor Peck, Councilmember Chris. I wonder if I could offer something here. So the services covered by the 296 waste management fee are not an optional suite of services. They cover things like trash removal in parks and downtown and at city facilities, all kinds of things that help our city be a welcoming environment and someplace that's nice to be, for businesses and residents. They also include access to the waste diversion center and some other such things. But I think, separating them out into a la carte services would be a completely different endeavor than the waste management fee that we were asked to return with. So we would need different direction.
Yeah.
I think if I can...
Actually, commercial entities already pay a $2 Greenway and Parks fee.
Yes, the Parks and Greenway fee is for the maintenance of the parks and
green spaces, yeah.
But does not include the trash collection, which is in waste management.
The other component of this is that when we look at a lot of our more significant cleanups, those actually occur in areas that are more commercial. We actually utilize this fee that the residential groups pay to do those cleanups. So when we think of encampments and things like that, that is actually this fee that we're utilizing. And most of that work is actually adjacent to commercial areas, and those commercial areas are not paying into that fund.
Yes, and
nope.
No.
I'm sorry, can you make a motion to move this or to not move it? Whichever works, for whatever you want.
So I move to amend 2025-62 to remove the commercial charge of $2.96, but offer recycling services and possible shredding. I still want you to think about shredding to commercial entities at a voluntary and competitive rate, something that would cover cost plus a percentage that is equal or less than market rate.
Is there a second? Seeing no second, the motion dies for lack of a second.
I move ordinance 2025-62. Seconded.
It's been moved by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor McCoy. Let's vote.
Oh, there's a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Popkin.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I shared this when we discussed this a couple weeks ago as well. That I was concerned that, look, this council has talked about trying to encourage composting and trying to look for a place for a composting facility for a while. We spent an inordinate amount of time looking for that, and we're trying to encourage composting in other ways. This rate structure is antithetical to that. And this is set up disproportionately to increase costs on composting. I know we talked about that, that was kind of meeting where the market is. But if we have a policy goal of trying to shift to encourage more composting and reduce the use of our waste, I think we should be looking for setting up our rate structure in more of a way that does not disproportionately increase, relatively speaking, to our trash fees. So unless there is, I'm not going to belabor the point here. I hope that this is looked at more in the future, but I will not be voting for this.
Thank you. I must say that composting is not an issue at this point, nor is it in this. So when this comes up the next time, composting is in, but we have made a motion about composting. That it would be, it's probably a separate topic at this point.
Councilmember Popkin is referring to the composting rate that is in this ordinance.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let's vote. Councillor Christ, and that passes 5-2 with Councillors Popkin and Christ opposing. Councillor Christ, you pulled 9D as well. What?
Oh. Mr. Blazek, actually, I have a fairly simple question. What problem are we solving with this? Why do we need so many recycling facilities in town?
Good evening, Mayor Peck, Councilmember Christ, members of council, Zach Blazek, Planning and Development Services. The purpose of this item is A, because council directed us to bring it about a year ago. The reason why it was brought originally is because we had a couple of applicants come in and make requests for a land use that didn't specifically fall into our definition for recycle codes. And council directed us to come back with more variety of uses to allow for a greater variety of uses in the city.
So you don't necessarily expect all of these areas to become recycling areas, or do you?
I wouldn't say I expect them to, but they would be permitted to under the code in a way that they aren't now. So it does expand the use to a greater variety of zone districts.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for refreshing my memory on that. It has been a year, I guess. All right. So That's all I really wanted to check in with you about. Okay, so I will move ordinance 2025-68.
It's been moved by Councilor Chris, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. I pulled 2 items, H, 9H, and 9I. So 9H, I am a little confused about this ordinance, and here's why. We are through this saying that we're going to give $300,000 to Boulder County for free home ownership counseling to Longmont residents. I think that we need the counseling for Longmont residents, but clarify this for me, please. 2 years ago, there was a county tax that passed that says that will give dollars to affordable housing and attainable housing in Boulder County. Part of that allocation process when it came out was for services. And when I asked the commissioners, what is that for, they could not define it. How do we get it? And they would decide themselves on how to get those services. So because that wasn't defined to me, nor was it defined in the bill, I'm wondering why we are giving $300,000 to Boulder County when we've paid a tax for services for affordable and attainable housing residents. This is confusing to me because have we been able to access that part of that tax that was allocated towards services? And have we looked into that?
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Christy Wiseman, the city's housing investment manager. I'll provide a little context about this program and the history of funding, and then I'll ask Harold to jump in about the new tax specifically, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
So the Boulder County Personal Finance Program has been a long time program that the city of Longmont has supported. In past years, we actually supported it with CDBG, those federal HUD funds. Last year, we made the decision to move away from those federal funds with the uncertainty of CDBG and to pay for that service with our local affordable housing fund. So the city does have a history of supporting that program, and it is providing free homeownership, debt reduction, student debt, personal finance, a wide variety of personal finance topics for free to all Longmont residents. And the reason that we feel so strongly that we need to financially support it is because that program is required for residents utilizing our city program. So if a resident is coming to apply for us for down payment assistance or our housing rehabilitation program, we require them to do at least one free personal finance session just to make sure that their budget is on track and really utilizing those HUD certified housing counselors that the county has on staff. So that's kind of the history and why we in recent years transitioned it to local funding to protect that in the federal uncertainty. And then I don't know if Harold, you want to speak to the tax?
Yeah, so in terms of the tax, and Christy, you're gonna have to help me remember the number. I think we're getting an allocation of 2.9 million, just under $3 million from that county tax, and that portion of the funding is for the construction of affordable and attainable housing.
Okay. What is the services for, though?
So that has been a significant topic of conversation in terms of how the service. So council may remember X amount of money is for projects. There was an X percentage for services. And there's been considerable conversation at the municipal level and with the county regarding the funding for services and making that accessible to municipalities. In this session, that money is not available. City of Longmont, 2.899 million, so just under 2.9. So that is not money that at this point we have been able to access. We were trying to talk about it for clinicians and some other work we had, but that money is being allocated through the county for direct programs, assisting programs like our center, Sister Carmen, and other nonprofits that support individuals in the housing world.
But they still haven't decided what the services part is going to be used for.
I think some of it is going to those nonprofits that support individuals in the housing world, but I don't know what that number is off the top of my head. I can only speak to the number that we've been allocated in terms of the direct allocation, which is just under 2.9 million
For housing.
for housing. And it's a percentage based approach, and so that I think is for 3 years. So council knows Longmont and Boulder are the only two communities that get a direct allocation. The remaining communities in the county, they all put their projects in and they look at what money is available in that. They have set up an advisory board for the county commissioners on those projects, of which the city managers are part of. Nuri and I are part of it, but we don't have a vote on it because we have a direct allocation in funding.
Okay, thank you for that. When you find out,
We'll let you know.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, and I understand that it's always been funded. I agree with that. I agree with the whole process, but I needed the difference there explained.
Yeah, and I just want to add, Mayor, that we will be bringing the finalized IGA that outlines the funding agreement with Boulder County. Staff has been working at that with Boulder County staff for the past several weeks, and so that will come before you at a future meeting, hopefully soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that's for the 2.9 million.
Correct, for our development funding.
Good. We need it. Okay, with that, I'm going to move 2025-54. It's been seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Let's vote. And that passes 6-1 with Councilor Christ opposing. And I also pulled I. So this one, I have questions on as well. I understand that the land that is being asked for, what are they being asked? An application referral for I want to say extraterrestrial, but it's extraterritorial. Oh my goodness. Sewer service for Lifebridge Church. My question is, because they want to replace or get rid of a septic tank, is that correct? Is that septic tank being used now?
Mayor Peck, Chris Huffer, Assistant Director of Water and Waste. Yes, they currently have a septic system that they're using, a septic tank and field.
So they don't have a sewer line now at all?
No, they are not connected to the sewer at all. The county allowed them to construct and build the church originally with a septic system.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I've got. With that, I move 2025. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor McCoy.
So when I was on council last time, Lifebridge had somehow a similar sort of issue back in 2028, 2029. And I'm concerned that after we see after we've seen some developments that in the older part of town off of 3rd Avenue there, that they wanted us to have them hook up to our water and sewer, and then all of a sudden they're starting down the pathway of maybe potential development. I'm not going to be supporting this. I'm concerned about a backdoor approach to annexation.
Well, that was going to be my question. If you said they weren't going to use, they're not using that septic tank, then we need to hold off until it's developed and we have a concept plan and where's the sewer lines going to go, et cetera, et cetera. But this is, but that's a different question because you said they are using the septic tank.
That's correct, Mayor Peck,
Yeah.
that they're currently on septic. I am not aware of any other plans. They haven't shared any plans with us to further develop their property, that they're wishing to. My understanding is that they have requested a building permit from Boulder County for internal work into their building. And the county now with updated regulations is basically saying that their septic system is not sized and adequate to serve a commercial building of their size.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, so let's vote,
Sorry, question. Can I jump in?
I guess.
Thanks. So when they're requesting to hook up, I think this is the first time I've seen this. And so when an applicant is requesting to hook up to our septic system, that's not, they're not requesting annexation though from this?
No.
Councilmember Poppin, that's correct. They are not requesting annexation at this time. I will point out that as we move forward, the agreement has a clause in it that says that when they're eligible and if the city requests that they annex, that they would do so. But there's no requirement for them to annex.
Got it. So they would be outside of our boundaries, but they're requesting to connect to our sewer system. I presume that would mean they would be paying our wastewater rates and contributing to our
Yes.
our fee structure still as a customer, effectively, right?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Now we can vote. I thought I did. I already did. I said with that we're going to move our 2025-55.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Chris. That passes 6-1 with Councilor McCoy in opposition, opposing. We're now on the general business part of our, before we get here, I want to make a comment though about minimum wage. Council has not said anything about raising the minimum wage. We just had a fishbowl. There has been no limits or suggestions to that. So that has not been decided. So let's move on to our general business, which is about the Prairie Dog Citizen-Initiated Code Text Amendment Referral, the 7.06 Prairie Dog Code.
Good evening again, Mayor Peck, members of council, Zach Blazek, Senior Environmental Planner, Planning and Development Services. Here to talk to you this evening about a code text amendment referral request from the public for Chapter 7.06 Prairie Dog Code. So this process is a land development code text amendment referral. Chapter 1502.060D1 permits private parties to request text amendments to the code through a referral process to the council. If council directs us to consider this request, the proposed amendment would be referred through a review process that would include planning commission and an ordinance introduced back at city council in the future. Referring this request today does not obligate the council to approve the amendment. It just directs staff to bring it forward again. The applicant is here to speak in detail about what they are requesting. I'm just going to quickly summarize. It's Chapter 7.06 for the Prairie Dog Codes. They are requesting 9 modifications this evening to this chapter as part of this referral, which include modifications to overall prairie dog permit review process and general requirements, existing urban level development clause, public notification process for habitat management, and fees assessed to prairie dog management permits. The council has 3 options this evening. The first is to direct staff to process an amendment to Chapter 7.06 as it's presented. The council can direct staff to process specific amendments to Chapter 7.06 as described in the recommended options, or council can not direct staff to process an amendment to Chapter 7.06. The options are at the discretion of the council. Staff at this time offer the following feedback for the requested amendments. Support for requests 1 and 2. No recommendation because they're related to fees for requests 6, 7, and 8, and staff do not support requests 3, 4, 5, and 9. So the staff recommendation is to approve option 2, which is to direct staff to process specific amendments to Chapter 7.06, specifically requests 1 and 2. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant so they can make their presentation. I'll be here again if you have questions about staff analysis, but this is really their opportunity to present, so I'm going to call them up.
Hello again, Mayor Peck and council members. As Zach introduced, we're here to talk about the prairie dog control ordinance. So as you heard earlier, there's several issues that allow applicants to get around requirements, goes against the intentions of the ordinance, and just makes enforcement harder for relocator and city staff. As mentioned before, hundreds of acres of prairie dog habitat has been lost, and $0 has been collected in our habitat loss fund. Numerous individual nonprofits, communities are here to help work with the city to provide easier ways to preserve habitats, relocate them, choose the humane option. And a majority of cities or residents across most colonies want them to stay. Mike from Harvest Junction Village earlier didn't mention it, but part of that research they did to see if what the community wanted to do was a community survey. And they found over 80% of residents were strongly against extermination of any kind. So after a lot of back and forth with the HOA board, we ended up relocating and not exterminating afterwards. Like, we just left whatever prairie dogs were there afterwards. And that was, the community showing that they wanted to do the humane option. Susan?
Okay, so going through our first issue, I talked about earlier, the existing urban level development part of the ordinance that allows properties such as McLean to exterminate large quantities, large numbers of prairie dogs, just simply because there's some development on their property. So that's something that we were wanting to, now am I going into specific detail on this one? Or I apologize, I'm kind of trying to follow here. But in any event, yeah, so that's one of the things. I'm probably jumping out of course here, but the existing urban level development, we're asking that it be changed to a minimum of 1.5, a threshold of 1.5 acres of prairie dogs, which is the same that applies for the major permit, that it would apply even on existing urban level development. It just levels the playing field for everyone there. So I think I'm off course, so I'm going to swap back to you.
No, it's okay. So yeah, just kind of talking about some of the issues, that urban level development, the polygon stuff that Anna was showing earlier, how people can reduce the size, how applicants have avoided paying the fees by just kind of making, I forget what the wording is exactly, but as long as the director is happy, it's okay. Like a lot of how they reduce the fees is very unclear in the ordinance right now. And it's left the room open for no fees to ever be collected, actually. And again, as Mike mentioned earlier, there's very little support for residents who want to preserve. The city almost felt like they're encouraging, just choose the easy thing. And there's a strong desire from the community. Community survey shows all these residents. I get so much outreach now as part of Grasslands. So I'll go through the first couple here. So this first update is staff supported. It's all prairie dog extermination applications, both major and minor, should require a 10-day waiting period and posting on the city's website. That's just to allow relocators and advocates to reach out and get the landowners to even be aware that options exist. As Amber mentioned earlier, it would be great if we could actually get that update as soon as any development plans even start. That's not what we included in the proposal, but if we're able to modify that as we go into the next phase, I think that would be even better. Because, for example, there are places we know they're going to develop. Pueblo's open right now, and they're probably not going to make a decision on what they want to do with the prairie dogs until after the relocation center is available.
And I might interject something on that too. As a prairie dog relocator, if I see those things on there ahead of time, even if they're not ready to go into development, I might reach out to them and say, hey, I'll move your prairie dogs for a very low cost. In some cases, I actually do it for no cost. So that's another benefit, for the developer too, because as we all know, all of these properties will eventually be developed. So it's nice that we have that information earlier than later.
Yeah, raise awareness, give a chance for more humane options. So then the second update we're requesting is also city staff approved, which is allowing them to inspect the actual site as soon as a prairie dog application is received, and limit the length of time an applicant has to follow up on a prairie dog application to 90 days. prairie dog colonies change in size. Can't say like, oh, there's only 1 acre, and then 10 months later, there's not still an acre potentially. So they should be limited on how long, they're allowed to follow up. And that has been an issue in the past. All right, so update 3 is where we start getting no staff support on this one. But the requested update is that upon verification that a prairie dog relocation site is available, accepting applications, a relocation application to that site should be required before any extermination permit is issued. So for example, Pueblo, Chem Depot, they start accepting prairie dogs in August, but they start accepting applications in April. So if a developer comes in with the prairie dog relocate or prairie dog management permit request in May, it's not really required right now for them to try to relocate because this place isn't actually taking prairie dogs right now. And staff says that they already do this. They already advocate for, reaching out and showing that these options are available. But what if Zach's not in this role in a few years, whenever, if they're already doing it and it sounds like they're supportive of it when we chat, why not just make it legal language for this requirement to be something that has to happen? Let's see. And for example, too, at Tri-Point, Tri-Point Homes, which is right across from the sugar mill, there was a planned extermination in their little park. About 20 prairie dogs got into it. And a resident there saw some signage, reached out to me. We were able to cancel the extermination the day of, because as soon as I reached out to the landowners, they're like, whoa, we could relocate? They had no idea that it was even an option. They want to do this. They want to choose the humane thing. Their awareness just isn't there. So this again would give us the opportunity to make it required for them to reach out and do this sort of effort to choose the humane option before moving on to just massacring the whole colony. Susan?
So a requested update 4, as Anna spoke about earlier, is the polygon. At one point we got a 68-sided polygon that turned a 1.5 acre amount of prairie dogs down to 1.47, and it was accepted, and those people were given a permit to kill those prairie dogs. So we're requesting that that be changed to where it actually say minimum convex hull, like Anna showed you in the diagrams. That would prevent something like that from happening and prevent that little loophole of being able to create some crazy polygon in order to drop yourself down into a minor permit. And as Jamie's pointed out before, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, when they count prairie dogs, they fly over burrows, and that's how they count them, and they deem them to be active. At no point do they say, well, from up here, it looks like there's some cobwebs in the hole, so we're not going to call it active. And calling something, an active burrow is a subjective thing. As a relocator, I'm out there all the time. Prairie dogs make changes to their burrows. It's like saying you live in a house, but that window is closed, so therefore that's not your habitat, just because that window is closed. So again, I got a little bit off course here, but anyway, we want it to encompass all active prairie dogs on the property. And then my next one was that.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Susan, you've done, it's okay. You've been doing this for like 20 years, relocating prairie dogs, and it's not easy for her to even tell which ones are active or not. This is actually making staff's job easier. They don't have to go around and find out, this one's active, that one's not, and it's not going to be accurate anyway, as Susan mentioned. Sometimes a burrow is just there as a vent for others. We close that up, it still affects the habitat. Prairie dogs move around from one side to the other often, so any burrow should be considered habitat.
Yeah, I agree. If there's a burrow in that area, it's part of active prairie dog habitat. Because sometimes these burrows could be in the center too, and they look closed. So how could you delineate, well, this is an active habitat, but a couple feet over here, it is active habitat. So, and then this one I've already talked about twice. First initially when I spoke, and then out of order here. So I think we all hopefully understand the urban level development issue here. So,
yes. Yeah, and just to add, it's like leveling the playing field. It's pretty unfair for one landowner to have to pay a huge fee, and then another gets away with nothing at all because they have a building on the property, no matter what the size is.
And I would go back to McLean as a reference on that again, because on the other side of Ken Pratt is the sandstone development by the Walmart. That developer paid a lot of money to move those prairie dogs. And if I were him, I would be looking across the street at McLean going, well, wait a minute, how come he got to exterminate 23 acres of prairie dogs, or he was given a permit to? Thankfully, we saved them. It's just not a fair situation for the developers either, so. Cut that out. Okay, so I'll try and stay on course. So requested update 6 is a request to increase the fee for a major prairie dog permit from $500 to $1,000. A minor prairie dog permit shall incur a fee of $250. Right now, there's no fee for a minor at all. And Zach, I think, spends a fair bit of time working on these things. And this is staff, time being spent. And I'm not sure, there may be other permits in the city that are issued for free that staff works on. I don't know. But I certainly think that that's fair for staff time, that a minor permit should incur that fee. And I don't think an increase from 500 to 1,000 is a substantial. And then we've mentioned before the Habitat Restoration Fund, $0 have gone into that fund. That's money that we felt was going to be used by the city to maintain, like, for example, McIntosh. They go out there and do barrier fencing. That's what that money was supposed to go for. And none of that money has been collected. So, I don't know if you want to add something I missed.
And it's been implemented for 6 years, so. Which gets to another fee proposal here. We want to increase the existing fee from $1,200 per acre for habitat loss to $1,750 per acre, and then also clarify how it could be reduced. So right now, it's very vague. It just says as long as they do the right thing, it's okay, and that doesn't really, it's not specifying what that means, choosing a humane option. Because, some could consider killing them with carbon monoxide is humane. It's still killing them. So reducing that fee from $1750 to $1250, that would be the reduction if they do choose a more humane poison. And then there currently isn't any fee for relocating, but even if you relocate, that still has a ripple effect on the local ecosystem. The eagles looking for food at Dry Creek, the coyotes looking for food in neighborhoods now. We're taking away a vital part of our ecosystem, even if we relocate them. So it is habitat loss for the city. I'm proposing a fee of $500 per acre, which potentially we could lower that one and maybe increase the extermination one, because relocation oftentimes isn't cheap. So kind of the difference there should still be, incentivizing people to do the right thing, but still collecting for that habitat loss. And just for reference, Fort Collins has a fee. Theirs is $4,500 per acre, over almost 4 times the amount of our current fee. So this proposal is not out of, it's not radical at all. It's following more what others are doing. And they also have a annual increase to match inflation, which is something we do not do yet either. I believe it's 2.7% that they do, so we're just matching again what other cities are doing. Yes, this just kind of goes over some of those details. And I think this is you.
Oh, okay. No, this is kind of what we were just talking about, though. All prairie dog extermination permits, both major and minor, shall have a habitat restoration fee applied, regardless of the method of extermination used. The reason for this update is that the inhumane poisons are inhumane, and habitat loss is still habitat loss. So that's kind of a little bit what you went over already. So I don't know if we can switch to our next.
Yeah, for sure.
There we go.
This is just kind of.
Oh, yeah, and I actually, maybe we'll back up here, because we were talking out in the hallway while we were waiting. I'm not sure how the purchase of open space works in the city, but I look around and we were talking about areas that have prairie dogs on them already, and it would be nice if the city would purchase those as open space and maintain them. I don't know, is that something that these fees could contribute to? Something along those lines as well. So, but like I said, nothing has been collected in 6 years, so that's pretty sad.
Yeah, there's so much we could do. There's local, like the Innovation Center wanted to do educational classes out at the Harvest Junction colony while we were still working on preservation. There's education opportunities, kids going out learning about the ecosystem, preserving land, helping the ecosystem thrive. There's a lot of reasons why this fund would be beneficial for us. And then the last requested update we have here is to require posting whenever an applicant applies for prairie dog permits. Oftentimes the public is not aware of what's happening to prairie dog colonies, which is a part of their neighborhood, in some cases a reason why they moved to that neighborhood. I had an example here from Fort Collins, but I actually want to talk about Tri-Point Homes, which is right across from the sugar mill. There were prairie dog, the prairie dog colony in the park that I kind of mentioned earlier that we were able to relocate. I was actually there setting traps at 5 a.m. this morning. So we were able to relocate the prairie dogs, but their plan was to exterminate. And the only reason why we were able to save these animals is because a resident saw a sign. They reached out to me. We were able to cancel the extermination the morning it was planned. And again, the landowner had no idea alternatives were available, and we're happy to hear about it. That sign saved lives. They're not going to be going to the website. Residents don't even know that this prairie dog website exists.
The website was down for over a year.
Yeah, it was down for over a year, and even if it was, people aren't going to check unless it's like people like Susan and I. So I think the signage reduces confusion, raises awareness, and helps us, relocate when possible.
I feel like I may be wrong on this. Zach can certainly address this, but I drive around and see signs for development all the time. So public meetings, neighborhood meetings on development, signs all the time. So I'm a little puzzled as to why staff would be opposed to posting a sign about something like this. I mean, it's just more transparency, and that is always a good thing, I think.
Those are our requested updates. Really appreciate all you considering this. And like most residents in Longmont, care deeply about our local ecosystem and are proud to live here in a city that cares about this sort of stuff. So thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question right off to staff. Why isn't there any dollars in that fund? Why haven't any been collected? Or is that even true?
Mayor Peck, in my time in this position, which is a little over 3 years now, we haven't collected any money for the Habitat Restoration Fund. The reason why is 7.06.080C. The director shall waive the habitat restoration fee in situations where a landowner establishes to the satisfaction of the director and the natural resources manager that the landowner would be entitled to destroy prairie dogs inhumanely, but instead has used only humane methods to destroy prairie dogs targeted under an extermination permit. In my time, I have not seen an application go forward that asked specifically for an inhumane method. So we talk about a city-approved humane method. That is the use of carbon monoxide gas. That's what I see for the vast majority, I would say 99.9% of the permits that I've taken in.
Okay. Who's here? Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I don't have a question. This is more, I just want to talk about this in general because I want to maybe head off council really getting into the weeds on this because I've never seen the citizen referred code amendments before. This is new for me in 8 years. And so I was really curious about the process. And so the process, obviously, if we move forward with it, anything that we would move forward in the referral, we go to planning and zoning, and then an ordinance would be drafted, and it would come to council. Well, as we know the timing of what's going on right now, it's very unlikely that 3 of us will be here when an ordinance comes back regardless. So I would not want to possibly hamstring the next council by removing items that they may want to consider. So I would want to refer all of them because I appreciate the staff recommendations, but I'd also like to get the P&Z recommendations if I were the next city council too on all of them. or at least all the ones that P&Z would be, because I think fees are more the city council's purview than P&Z's purview. But all the rest of them, I think P&Z should be able to weigh in on in the process. And so I would just maybe suggest that we don't necessarily pick and pull one thing or another off and just let the whole menu go through in a referral if we decide to refer it forward. Thank you.
Who is for? You are for.
Hidalgo Ferry.
She's next.
So I'm next. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro
yeah,
Tem Hidalgo Ferry.
yes, thank you. Yeah, I have no interest in pulling any items. I was going to ask staff to kind of go into detail about some of them, but no, I like that idea to streamline the process. I would really like to go through with all of them. I'm very excited to hear public come in, did all the legwork, and did all the history. They have the expertise. And so this is what I'm talking about, like having that public engagement piece and really looking at that and honoring that. So I think when it comes back to us, or, even at a separate time, I would like to look at and weigh in some of the unintended consequences, or if there's something that was considered on here that maybe we need to tighten it a little more so that there, to address loopholes before they happen. I would be willing to sit down with you all or with you between this point and on. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that I have no intention of removing any of the options right now. Thanks.
Councillor Popkin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Peck. Councilmember Rodriguez, I think that was a very prudent comment. I appreciate that. I had one clarifying question. On update request number 3, this is probably for staff because Jamie spoke, kind of presented already that staff is already doing this, and so I think it sounded like from the council communication here that this is basically redundant. Is that the only reason staff had thought that this wasn't necessary, or was there something else?
Councilmember Popkin, that's correct.
Okay. So this wouldn't be like an additional unfunded mandate that would be added on there for requirement. You're already doing it, and so adding that as a requirement was just text.
Yeah, not to speak for the applicant. I think
Sure.
their concern is, what happens in the future if
Sure.
someone new is in the position, or things change and institutional knowledge goes away.
No, I understand that.
whatever
Yeah,
is.
just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else missing from that
Sure.
conversation. Thank you. And then I think, first of all, Susan, Jamie, thanks again. That's good to see you in person again. I appreciate the time that you guys and many other residents have dedicated to bringing this forward. It is rare that we have this level of depth and investment into a topic. And so thank you for doing so thoughtfully. We had talked about on the fees, and I won't make any prescription today for the same exact reason that Councilmember Rodriguez suggested, but on numbers, what was it, 7, update request 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah, 7, where you're trying to encourage relocation or habitat preservation ultimately. But on the relocation over kind of the humane, I think you've adjusted some of the numbers since
I did adjust it a little bit
we
after
talked
your
there, yeah.
feedback, but I feel like we could adjust it more.
Probably. And I think that's part of what this process would allow for, but thanks for already kind of being thoughtful about that. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, all these numbers are kind of just my first draft of it. Would love to work more with the city to figure out the exact amounts that would make sense.
Great. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And to just echo what everyone else has said, I really appreciate the residents coming up and digging into a process that they feel is or is not working for the city. But I agree also that historical knowledge is important, but any council can overturn anything like this. So I don't want to say that it's a waste of time for us to look at it, but it may not get you what you want because of the next council. I think we should refer the whole thing and not pick and choose at all, and see what happens. I'm anxious to see what happens. I think I like a lot of what you've brought forward.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So, do you
Wait.
want a motion? Okay. I move that we refer, what do they call this? The Citizens Initiative.
Initiated code text amendment.
Oh, you're so good. Sorry, I'm not
Can I
here.
ask a quick, does this mean we need
Citizen,
to
yeah, I move that we
represent the
refer
whole
this.
thing again for the next council? I'm just not sure what referred means.
We're going to refer it to staff.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
To look at it and bring it back. And so I'm going to move the Citizens Initiated Code Text Amendment referral to staff to bring back at a future date. I'm going to say the first quarter, or I'm going to let you decide because it's a new council. We don't know what's going to be coming up immediately.
Correct. And so I think
I just refer it to staff.
So what you're doing is you're putting it into the process. It'll need
Yeah.
to go into P and Z in that process.
Yes.
But then there will be a new council
Yes.
that can provide direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you said.
Second.
All right. We've had discussion, so let's vote. Once again, thank all of you.
Sam.
Okay. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, Harold.
We're now at final call. Public invited to be heard.
Hello. Well, I was going to speak on the fact that at the sugar mill we had somebody fall, and then the people that were staying there were issued tickets. So I'm kind of relating this back to the fact that there's still a lot of people that aren't housed. So in Boulder County, there's about 750 people that are unhoused. And I can go over some of the issues, which I'm going to be presenting at a later date. But for now, I just want to talk about the ticketing of homeless people that don't have a place to go inside of the sugar mill, because I think it's overly aggressive. I don't think that they need to be ticketed for trying to have shelter, especially when the rains are coming. They may not have a place to go. I don't know for sure that they're homeless, but I did receive an email from the sheriff stating that somebody had fallen, that they were, that there's clearly you can put no trespassing on there, but these people are unhoused. So it's going to be more of a threat to them to be staying outside in rainy conditions. There's, I can go into how it's cold, it's wet, they can get sick, they can get pneumonia. I can even go into the fact that if you have, if you're not eating correctly, that your metabolism slows down, and if you're not moving a whole lot, and it's not just the moving, it's the lack of water and the lack of nutritious food. So a lot of these people may be getting one meal a day, or they may be getting, because our center doesn't serve people who are homeless. So they don't have a place to go, they need a place to hang out, and then we can go into the drug addictions, which, as you guys know, I don't personally have an addiction, but I have a lot of friends who do, and I think that it's about body stabilization and not trying to restrict them and send them to rehab, because they won't have their communities. And so they're just going to return to that. So you have to provide their basic amenities before you address the addiction. And then on top of that, that's just going to lead into whether they want to, moderate that. And the same thing will happen with pot. But the point is that they're homeless people. They're being affected by their environment. They don't have work. And I don't think that giving people tickets can help. I think that that's something that maybe needs to be addressed with the sheriff, that there's 350 houses apparently, or available spaces for people to live in, and that we have the ability to house people, but we haven't. Like, I live at Xenia. I came here because I was gang stalked. I'm not trying to be homeless. I'm not trying to not have a job, but after you've been gang stalked and then you're targeted by the government and your children are taken, that has a huge weight. It's not something that's, something that's small. It's something that's huge. So fixing the government is clearly a main priority for me, so that I don't have to feel targeted, and so that my children are safe and I'm safe, and that my children are returned to me. But I think that the main issue that I'm bringing that back to the fact that homelessness is awful. There are so many things that go into it. There's a lack of metabolism. It feels like your brain starts eating itself. There's a higher rate of of neuropathy right now, and it isn't due to drugs. It's actually due to a lower metabolism rate, and it's predominantly in people who are Caucasian, because there hasn't been a predominance of vegetables in their diets. So
Is there anyone else? Yes, Lance, come on up.
Lance Whitaker, 1750 Collier Street. As you know, resident, 44 some odd years. Just a shout out to Longmont Public Media. Be joining them soon, I hope. We're hoping to get a whole bunch of people down here to show up for them, and any funding that they need, hopefully we can provide it for them. Also, I'd like to do a shout out to anyone living in the sugar mill. Please note that there is asbestos problem in the sugar mill, a big time asbestos problem. So please don't live there. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lance. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Seeing no one, will close final call, public invited to be heard. And we'll move on to mayor and council comments. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I just want to alert the community members to the No Kings Longmont event at Roosevelt Park this Saturday, October 18th, from 1 to 3. Hope to see you there.
Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Senior Citizens Advisory Board members. Just this past weekend, we had another food donation drive at the Senior Center. Over the last 5 months, 5 different Saturdays, the Senior Citizens Advisory Board and the Food Security Network, I believe, have helped nourish over 375 senior households, containing over 560 different senior citizens in our community. So just a huge shout out to the folks who have been spending their Saturday mornings, not just handing out food, but setting up and preparing and moving all kinds of different food options around for people, and just also raising awareness that that is something that if you need some food assistance and support, that is an option for you. The second thing I wanted to just bring up, maybe, Harold, just a quick question. I recall from our discussions 2 weeks ago, or no, I think it was just last week, about unleaded fuels for the airport. We have like a fuel transition plan that is being developed right now. My understanding is that we are also pursuing some of the CDOT grant funding to start doing this. Can you just clarify the status of that and kind of where we are in the process of pursuing that? Harold, Sandy, whomever.
Sandy.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks, Mayor Peck, members of council, Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. Yes, I just happened to talk to Director Elaine from CDOT just last week, actually, about this. And so as we proposed last week in the council meeting, we are planning to apply for those CDOT grants, because any help that we can get with the unleaded transition will be welcome. As I mentioned, we do have to have a plan by January of 2026, and we will absolutely have that. I know that we've been kind of already talking about what the outline would look like. Most of the other airport managers are starting to talk to each other about what that's going to look like. But then our plan is absolutely to apply for those grants.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Ferry.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Saturday, we had Dia de los Muertos celebration over by Longmont Public Media and the library, just that 4th and Kimbark space. And every year that we've had this, it grows and grows, and it is amazing. It's just a huge testament of that community, that small town feel when we have events like this. So I think, I love that the organizers, their collaboration with Boulder County, with us, with other nonprofits, and just the volunteers that help make this come together and come alive. It was an amazing experience, and I love sharing my cultures too. So it was good. I had a booth out there as well. But yeah, just all those great things that make Longmont feel special. We got to keep on funding those.
City manager's remarks.
No comments, Mayor, Council.
City attorney.
No comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion? I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We are adjourned.